Afternoon. I'm back with my meat and potatoes of YouTube video making. My no, can't think of anything else that bedrock. No, that's rubbish. But anyway, it's just a pickups video. I actually would have done this. Excuse me, a prop. I would have done this earlier, but been waiting on a game from that website that I'm not mentioning anymore. You might remember it from last time. And also, I'm not sort of twattishly holding my mic like a knob end. I'm not doing that. Maybe one day, maybe next time. Not next time. I'm not saying I won't do it again, but you know, I couldn't help but feel like a dickhead. But yeah, I've been waiting on a. Sorry, feels like I've got a bogey up my nose. You didn't really want to know, did you? I've been waiting on a game from. Just make sure I haven't. Nothing worse than doing a whole video and then realising that you've got a bogey hanging out your nose. Not that that's ever happened to me. Yeah, I've been waiting on a game from that website that I'm not mentioning anymore for reasons because it's too crowded. It's a closed shop. Not really. It's you know. I've been waiting on a game from them. I ordered it. When did I order it? I ordered it back on the 3rd of April. What's now? 23rd. Ordered it on the 3rd of April. I'd ordered another game the day before from the same place, from the same website. And I waited for both games. The first one turned up 11 days later on the, what does that make it? 13th. Which I'll show that's coming up. But I waited for the other one, the second one. You know, judging by how the first one had gone, I was hoping maybe it might turn up the next day, considering I'd ordered the other one sort of the day before. But no, it didn't turn up. I waited until 15 days. I sent them an email. This is why the video is sort of later than I would have done it earlier. You know, I was waiting for the video. I sent them an email. Actually, it was at the weekend, so I had to wait 2 days for the email, the reply, because obviously it's not automated. And eventually got a reply. So apologies, but we have been unable to fulfil your order. And I can't remember the technical terms they used, but it pretty much, their reasoning was that my game, I'll tell you what it was Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins on the PSP. So it looked really good, by the way. It's not an expensive game, though. You can get it from CEX for £5, so that's not expensive. I don't think it costs much on eBay either. But I saw one on that website and never turned up. I got in contact and their reasoning was they apologised. They said it had gone through the processing, the process of, sort of vetting, processing. It was all ready to be dispatched. It was about to go into an envelope to be dispatched. And they said to me that through every stage in the process, they looked them over to make sure that it's worthy of sending out. And they said to me, sorry, bloody hell. They said to me, eyelash now, Jesus Christ, get it, sort it out, Owen. They said to me, I'll get to the point. I'm going to drag it out even longer to piss people off. They said to me, what did they say to me? No, they said to me that no, they decided that it wasn't good enough to send out. It was to that point where they looked at it and thought, no, that won't be good enough. That was their reasoning. And in the letter, they said that in not on normal circumstances, if something wasn't quite up to scratch, they would contact the buyer and offer them the game a discount, which I've never heard of. I don't know if that's happened to anyone, but that's apparently what they do if your game isn't up to scratch. But in the letter they said we'd looked at it and it wasn't even good enough for that, because they said it'd get to you and it obviously wouldn't be good enough. So we didn't think it was even worth our while sending it to you, which in some ways that's really irritating, because they didn't actually contact me. It took me to contact them for them to tell me that this is what the situation was. And also on the little where you go to my order history, it said it had been dispatched. There's a little thing that says status of order. It said it had been dispatched. It said dispatched. So I just thought it had been dispatched. But then I got this email saying no, it hadn't been dispatched because they decided not to send it to me. But obviously that's irritating because they had not even bothered to tell me. And then it took me to contact them for them to tell me, which is annoying. But on the other hand, apparently they've sent my money back. I've not checked. So I rarely check. They might be bluffing. I might not have got my refund. But it's at least they're showing that they have standards. So if you do, unless I think I got unlucky because it's just sort of like a sort of balls up human error, and that's their explanation of human error. I think I just got unlucky, and it just showed that it's basically it's not automated. The whole process is all it's a non-automated, whatever that is, manned, human-driven. Don't know, and they'd use their judgment to decide that it wasn't good enough, which makes you think if you do order something from them in the future. Not that I'm going to tell you what the website is, but most people watching should already know. That, Jesus, 7 minutes for this story. At least they should be of a standard, and that it's people at the other end. There is actually somebody making sort of a judgment call. So they should be of a decent standard. Which I think which is good in a way, but it does account for the human error, lots of human error, and maybe it accounts for why the websites are a little bit random, or they're weird prices, and sort of listings not being taken down once they've been bought and stuff like that. A bit odd. You think you see a listing then, oh great, and then no, it's already been nabbed. But I think my assertion from last time that it's they take a while to sort of to activate once they've been listed. I think that's slightly optimistic. I think I've got ahead of myself there. I just think it's just basically in any sort of random element to that website. It's all down to the sort of the humans and sort of beavering away in the background, and things sort of slight inconsistencies where that's regarded. But so yeah, I didn't get my game, and it's basically delayed this video. But I'm not bitter. It just forms my opinion of that website. Some good, some bad. Obviously, you just have to make allowances for the fact that there is actually a human behind the scenes, and it's not just a computer just sort of sorting everything out. But yeah, right. After all that, there was a couple of things I was going to talk about, but I'm not going to bother. They're just basically padding, and I had decided that obviously I always say, "Oh, try and make it a quick one this time," but I thought to myself, if I ever do say that, and I do actually make a relatively quick video, I might as well just stop making videos altogether. My life will be complete. It doesn't get any better. No, it does, but my goals are small. But enough of that. On to the good stuff, or not, depending what your opinion is. Depending how good your judgment is. I know there's plenty of people out there who haven't got any. If this no, I won't say that. Any I've noticed any excuse, you You just need any minor excuse for someone to piss anyone off on the internet, isn't it? And they're only too happy to do what they do. If that ever, you know what I mean, don't you? It just any sort of tiner or miney. Speak English. Tiny or minor excuse. First two, CDs. I got this. When did I get this? I can't remember. Yesterday, 2 days ago. Anyway, it's a CD that the first two are CDs, by the way. It's a CD that I've been looking at for a long time, and it's almost from my youth. Yeah, it's a Brit band from the Britpop years, sort of a very underrated band and a really good album. And it's an album from a band that I had 2 singles from, 2 CD singles. Can you still get CD singles? I don't think you can. You still get tape singles? No, obviously you can't still get tape singles, but who remembers tape singles? I wonder if anybody collects tape singles. I bet they're like the long forgotten sort of idiot cousin, aren't they, of collecting? I bet there must be someone out there who collects tape singles. It's basically the Long Pigs. The sun is often out. Who remembers the Long Pigs? I don't think many people will remember the Long Pigs. You might remember their song called She Said. You remember the chorus. A lot of people remember the chorus. If you're into Britpop, you won't remember the chorus if you were born after 1995, 96, 95, which, is 20 years ago. But this was in my formative years, my music listening years. So it goes, She Said. The chorus repeats She Said. I'm not going to sing it. Don't make me sing it. I'm not going to sing it. I could sing it, but I'm not going to sing it. But it's the Long Pigs. I saw this in a pound shop back last year sometime. Just for some reason decided not to buy it and regretted it ever since. But then I saw it in a charity shop. I thought, yes. But they're bloody underrated, in my opinion. This album is really good. It's, properly quality anthemic. I don't know where they even went to. I don't think did they do a second album? I don't know. But this is a good album. And the singles I've got are sort of really underrated as well. The actual 2 songs, the singles, like hidden classics from that era, I think. Right. Actually, I've got this slightly out of order, but right. Second CD. This comes with a batch of stuff. It's basically Drive. It's the Drive soundtrack. I love the film. The soundtrack's brilliant. I've wanted the actual album because there's a couple of songs that I wouldn't like to get, and it's just a really sort of it's the quality of the film, sort of the film and the soundtrack sort of go side by side. They're both as good as each other. They both enhance each other, I think. And this is a really good soundtrack. It's mostly original, but there's a few songs in it. But it's mostly by a guy called Cliff Martinez, I think. Yeah, Cliff Martinez. But I actually watched, I think Radio 1 or BBC 3 did. They did like a sort of Zane Lowe curated sort of soundtrack for Drive, and they showed the film with this soundtrack that Zane Lowe had put together instead of the original soundtrack. It wasn't nowhere near as good. It was a good soundtrack. It was nice. It was good, but for some reason it took something away from the film. One that's good, but that is, Night Call. Everyone know Night Call. Right, that did it? Yeah, it did. No, it didn't. What came with that? Can't remember. Actually, no, I've got it now. I'm getting confused. There's another DVD. This probably won't mean much to anyone. It's called Meek's Cut Off. It's a Western. That's Michelle Williams on the front, by the way. It's basically a film I have seen. It's one of these films that always gets shown late at night on BBC Two. Excuse me. It's basically an existential Western. It's by somebody, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, but called Kelly Reichardt. Kelly could be a bloke. There's that surfer called Kelly. He went out with Pamela Anderson. What's his name? And he was in Baywatch for a bit. But it's, judging by the content, I reckon it's a woman. Kelly Reichardt. Basically makes really slow indie films, really thoughtful indie films. And this is basically a western about Meek is like this sort of frontiersman who is employed by these pilgrims or these pioneers to show them along the Oregon Trail, I think it is. What does it say? Yeah, the Oregon Trail. And it gets to the point where they suspect he doesn't really know the way, and there's lots of sort of tension and infighting, and in a way it reminds me of the film Seraphim Falls. It's an existential western in that sort of sense, but it's actually pretty good. And I saw it in a charity shop. It was $1.49, and it was sealed, so it's something I wanted to watch. I wanted to have. So it won't be for everyone, obviously, because it's a bit of a slow mover. There's not like loads of gunfights or anything. It's not one of them. This I got the same day as Long Pigs. It's basically The Wire. I've got this, but it's 50p. There's a charity shop near me in my local town that always has stuff outside. Everything in the trays, their CDs and DVDs are always 50p. So it's always good to look through to see what they've got. And they had this. I thought it was mental, 50p. I thought, I've got it already. So, hold my hands up. I bought it purely as to stick in CEX. But they only give you £2 for it. Might even be £1. I think it's £2. But 50p for a whole series of The Wire. I mean, that's probably about as good value as you can get as far as quality, isn't it? Although this is the poorest series of The Wire. It's still better than most things. But anyway, yeah. I didn't know how much it'd get me. Came home and checked it, and it only get me £2. So slightly took the wind out my sails. But not too much. A couple of DVDs here. Again, these were only 50p. And they were pretty no-brainers for me because they're a couple that I'd wanted, or at least one of them, this one. Never an ending story. La, 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 la. Yeah. You think, what are you buying that for? Well, it's, to begin with, it's by Wolfgang Petersen, who made Das Boot. So, it's top quality children's fantasy adventure stuff. This isn't no cheap, nasty fantasy adventure. This is by, a legitimate filmmaker. But also, this is a film from my childhood. I remember seeing this in the cinema. I loved it. This is another one of those films I think that people should show to their kids, because it's all about, sort of the power of the imagination, isn't it? And it's just love it. It's got such strong imagery, but the only bit that annoys me, I never understand the name that he shouts out at the end during the storm. He opens up the windows and he just shouts out into the darkness, into the storm, like this name, and everything's okay after that. I can never hear the name that he shouts out. It's very sad as well, especially a certain equine demise in the was it the Swamp of Despair or something. But anyway, and to go with that was also 50p. 50p. Son of Rambo. I've seen this twice. First time I saw it, I didn't really like it, but I saw it the second time again on the telly a few weeks ago, and I thought, actually, this is better than I remember. But really funny. Really like the bits where they're making the films and he's getting his mate to do all the stunts. But yeah, so I've got 2 more DVDs here. Those will be the last DVDs. The first one, bit of a no-brainer. Guy Ritchie does Sherlock Holmes. Sounds like a match made in hell, but I do remember that these actually surprised everyone, didn't they? I remember the actual reviews were really good, so I thought I'd give a punt to them. And they were sealed, or I suppose that's a legitimate seal. It could be resealed easily, but only £1. And I thought like The Wire, obviously not like The Wire, but I thought if I didn't like them, I could just trade them into CEX and I'd probably get them on the pound. And, you know, lo and behold, at the time I bought them, they were worth £3 in trade. They were like £6 or £3 in £6. They sold £3 in trade to me, credit. Since I've had them, in the last week or so, the price has gone down for £5 and £2 credit. So, not bitter. So I better get them watched before the price goes even lower. But they're supposed to be decent, aren't they? Let me know if anyone's seen them. But I know the reviews are good. Not that they need. That's what they need. They need some bit of a press blurb on their packaging, don't they? But you know, it seemed no-brainer. £1 for 2 films, supposedly of decent quality and brand new. And this one, bit of a classic, childhood classic. I suppose a bit like a Never-Ending Story, but this is television. It's a monkey. The nature of monkey was irrepressible. Yeah, it's the first one. I think if you've been watching my videos long enough, you might remember that I might have bought this. I've got a sneaky feeling that I have, but I've looked for it and I can't find it. But I've looked at it so many times. I don't often forget what I've got and what I haven't got. But I've looked at this so many times in charity shops and gone, should I buy it? Should I buy it? Yeah. But and I can never be quite certain whether I have or not. But this is brilliant. I've watched when they redid a load, didn't they? They revoiced a load and they got all the old cast together. Apart from the guy who did the narration, they had to get Burt Kwok in because it wasn't Burt Kwok originally, I don't think. But Burt Kwok did a really good job with the narration, and it was really good. Apart from the bloke who played Pigsy, he didn't sound anything like he did back when he was younger. He was just like, what? And also they changed the actor who played Pigsy as well. I love the first episode of this where he's flying on his cloud and he stops to have a piss and he sees these pillars sticking up through the clouds and he has a piss up against one of these pillars, only to realise it's actually Buddha who's got her fingers up through the clouds, and he's pissing against one of Buddha's fingers. And he turns around and she introduces herself. She introduces herself, and he goes, "Oh, I always thought you were a fella." Always cracks me up that bit, but it's, you know, just the score, the soundtrack, is enough to. Right back to my childhood. I can remember when it was on the telly. I was so young. I think I must have been about 2 or 3, and then it sort of disappeared. And it was oh no. But, right. Actually, that was with that came one day. I got this one day. This is the thing. Actually, I paid £1 for it, and I thought, you know, if I have got it, I can always trade it in and get £1 for it. But no. This is worth about 20p in CX, and the next 3 things are all, like 2 things, are all like, yeah, that's pretty good. And it was all from one day. I came home and I got this stuff, and I thought, yeah, and I was really pleased. But then I looked at it all and thought, actually, this isn't quite as good as I thought it was. This little pile, you know, I just sort of tried to legitimise my purchases. By checking them out CEX to see that if I could get my money back in credit, but no, I couldn't get not with any of them. Like, for instance, this one, Battlefield 3 Limited Edition. It's only £2. It's got 2 discs and everything. Got this weird little manual. It's not a game I've ever played. I've only ever played the Bad Company. That's not the same series, is it? Is it? I played Bad Company. I've got Bad Company 1 and 2. But yeah, I've never played these, and people tell me that they're slightly less, slightly more tactical than the Modern Warfares. So it might be more my taste. Although I do like Modern Warfare 2. But yeah, that was £2. Oh shit, sorry. And lo and behold, I wouldn't be able to get my money back in CX credit. And the same with this. This one, I deliberated over. I thought, it's a first-party Nintendo game. You can't really go wrong. But then I looked at the... shall I buy it? £2? You know, that's very small price to pay. But then came home, And this is probably about the cheapest first-party Nintendo game going ever anywhere on market. Mario Strikers Charged Football, but it's probably pretty good, and you can have 4 players. But it's not. I never didn't put it on my list, but I thought first-party Nintendo game. You know, I'll take a punt at £2, but turns out it wouldn't get me money back. So yeah, so I'd had those 3 that I thought, yeah, you know, they're worth a punt. You know, obviously my safety net wasn't you know, my safety net being able to trade them back in CX. And the 4th thing I got that day was actually probably the best of the bunch, but the cheapest, and it's not worth anything at all. And but it was something that it was on my list, and I wanted to. It was basically a loose end. It was basically just getting them on a musher, 50p from CX. The one in Barnet. And this is a game I wanted, but didn't want to pay too much, so CX was the logical place to go for 50p. And I've now got all 4 on a musher games. I've got 2, 3, and 4 on the PS2, and this one on the Xbox. I think this was the only one that was. Oh no, not. It's Warlords, isn't it, on the PS2? I don't know how much they differ. I'm not going to get both. No, not that mental. I'm a bit mental, but not that mental. But yeah. Yeah, so I just, you know, like I said, when I get cross-platform games or multi-platform games, I tend to go with the Xbox. Don't know why, just do. Right, this was a bit of a not so much an impulse, but a game that I had on my PSP list. Bit of a hint, and I was in CX one day and I noticed the price had come down, and it'd been about sort of £2-3 more expensive than that, and often with this game it's often a bit battered. I don't know why, but often it is. It's just like dirty and manky. And I saw this one was a decent, clean copy, and it's basically Final Fantasy Tactics. I've got Final Fantasy Tactics on the DS, but apparently that's not the same game as the PS1 game. That we didn't get in the West. In the West, in Power Regions. Why don't you like that? That's better. Is it? No, not really. That's better. Yeah. Basically, it's a port. Would you call it a port of the PS1 game that we never got in Power Regions? So this is the only way I was ever going to get to play, unless I got a US PS2 or PS1, and then paid a load of money to get myself a copy of the game. So the only downside is it's supposed to come with art cards. It's actually a nice clean copy. This one doesn't come with art cards. I've had to grow up and accept that it's not got art cards. And there's a little bit more about that sort of thinking that I've come to right at the end with all the good stuff. This came with the same place, a new charity shop actually. Sherlock Holmes got it from the same place. This is all one. Don't know why I didn't show them together actually. Well, new charity shop. Well, actually, a little tip: any new charity shops near you, get in there quick because. I don't know, often new charity shops will have good stuff and before they get sort of picked over. So it's all often pays, not always pays, often pays to get in quick to see what they've got. And this one it's just a new one on local high street near me, and not a game I can use, but Star Wars Lego, the complete saga, and it's sealed for £1. This is £6 in CX, so this was just only ever going to be a sort of straight up trading. So, and I put it towards, I think with this and all the others I've got, I think that's about £10 worth of credit, even though some of them have gone down since I've had them. But a bit of a no-brainer. This one was sort of slightly less of a no-brainer, but it was a bit of a brainer, but mostly a no-brainer. Mario Kart do this for £3. A game I've missed out on in the past. I saw it in a charity shop a couple of years ago. I think I told the story. Come on, light. Where are you, light? Come back. Now I look like old David Bowie in Ashes to Ashes. I do. Yeah, I told the story a couple of years ago, I think. Saw it in a just sort of a tub outside a charity shop and asked the bloke how much. It was pounds because the label had said the pounds. And I didn't have any cash on me. I said, excuse me, do you know where the nearest cash machine was? Because I wasn't too sure. And it's just down there. Right, and I had a bit of a run, a bit of a jog. Tried not to look like I was running. Didn't want to look too keen. Made it all the way down there. When I got back, couldn't find it. Where's it gone? I thought maybe he's brought it inside and put it on the shelf. Went inside, looked on the shelves, it wasn't there. And saw a woman at the queue, or queuing up to pay for her stuff, and she had it. She had it, and they were insisting. She was. It sounded like they were trying to, they were playing dumb about how much the guy had said it was worth, and she was going, no, it's £1. She was pretty insistent it was £1, that he'd said it was £1. She was trying to fight her corner. I was hoping they might make her pay a bit more because she'd beaten me to my game. But when I saw this for £3, not that it's an expensive game. Again, this is a reasonable first party Nintendo game. It's but £3 is, you wouldn't get for £3. Probably double maybe you could get it for on a good day. But again, it's not like the sort of crazy mental Nintendo prices that you often see so much. Right, did that come from the same day? I can't remember. I think it did actually. Again, 2 out and about purchases. Like the idea about going in new charity shops. This is a local branch of cash converters near me that they basically had a refurb, and I think the same principle works there. If things had a refurb and they rejig the shelves and they basically look at their shelves and just sort them out and put better stuff on them. I think when they've been one way a long time, I think they stagnate, and I think they sort of it gives them an excuse to freshen up the shelves. And there was some decent stuff in this branch of cash converters once it had reopened. Excuse me. The first one I'm not sure is going to be a keeper, but I think it was who was it I was watching? I think it was on a retro tip. He was mentioning as far as Dreamcast, because it's a Dreamcast game. As far as Dreamcast games go, this one's relatively uncommon. It's a sports game, so I probably wouldn't have looked at it twice if I hadn't watched his video. And it's NBA hoops. I'm not convinced this is a keeper. I might just, if anybody's interested in it, let me know. I mean, case is battered. The actual everything, all the important stuff, all the inlays and the manual and the disc, I think, are okay. It's just the case, and it's slightly unfortunate because it's obviously a branded case, so you can just replace it, but you'd lose the hologram, which is a bit unfortunate. But see, it's chipped there and stuff like that, and just cracks. Yeah, but I thought £1.99, and I do remember, on a retro tip mentioning it. How uncommon it is, or you don't often see it. And I checked on eBay after that, and I think only one or two had sold. I think one not, or in recent. I think there is one for £15 that no one's buying. So it's not worth big bucks, but I thought it might be. I did remember what he'd said, and in the same place. And another duplicate, but again, I didn't really want to leave this behind because it took me years to get my copy. Mr. Domino, and I've yet to look through this to see if all the bits are better than mine. So I need to sort of cobble together a really good one, all the constituent parts to make a really good one. And not that this is in bad nick. The case has got a couple of cracks, and I don't think mine's in bad nick either. So, either way, I'll have 2 decent condition copies of Mr. Domino. Yeah, this took me donkey's years to get hold of a copy. I think the price has gone up in recent years as well. It's sort of probably over a tenner now. But so yeah, more duplicates. Yeah, saw one in a charity shop for 99p. Jack and Daxter. This, I think, this goes for a bit. The only reason is because it's one of the very last SingStar, non-FIFA PS2 games released. And it's got its funky orange case. Funky Orange case got its bits. And so for that reason, because it's sort of such a late release, it tends to command a certain amount. It might be just sort of left over from when it was brand new. You give it a couple of years, it probably won't be. It'll be just as much as the other Jak and Daxter games. But this one I'm saving up for a video camera. I want to get a GoPro, but I don't think I can quite afford it. So I'm gonna sell on some stuff and might get like a clone. You can get these things called SJ 4000s or 5000s is the new one, but the 5000s don't look that much cop. I think the 4000s look decent, like a nice GoPro clone. Or maybe I could save up a bit more and get myself something a bit more legitimate. You don't have to order from China. Not that everything from China is dodgy. Obviously. What am I talking about today? Right. 3 games from that website. One of these took. This is the one. One of these was one of the ones that took 11 days. It wasn't this one. To round off the series, or the PS2 series, it's Sly 3. Nice nick. I did have to change the case out, and it doesn't have the 3D specs, but again, I'm mellowing in my old age. I'm accepting that I can't always have everything I want. Like the Final Fantasy Tactics art cards. This is one of the ones that was $1.99, by the way, from that website. This is one of the ones. This is the one that took 11 days to turn up. This is also $1.99. It's Sniper Elites. For your a nice sniper. What's the word? Simulator. A really in-depth, immersive snipering experience. If anybody has ever wanted to sniper people without the guilt of actually, dispatching someone, it's not bad nick actually. Nice nick, and it does tend to follow through the idea of what the guy said when he sent me my email, that pretty much everything I've had has been of a decent standard, which is encouraging. But it did take 11 days, and it is in nice nick, and it's supposed to be a good game, and it's collectible. Probably about a sort of £6-7 game, or maybe up to a 10, I don't know. And this one's definitely the best of the 3. Godzilla and Godzuki. Who remembers Godzuki? What a twat. He was a little bastard, wasn't he? Annoying little fucker. Godzuki. Whose idea was Godzuki? Obviously, you don't need any more than Godzilla, do you? And then, obviously, he's like the Scrappy-Doo to Godzilla's Scooby-Doo. And the annoying little bastard who you don't really need, who's just there for the kids. Because Scooby-Doo wasn't violent or anything. You didn't really need Scrappy-Doo to take the edge off. This might scare kids, obviously, maybe, or the cartoon. What am I talking about? I don't know. But anyway, Godzilla games generally, not exclusively, but often have a decent amount of collectability. This is one of them. PS2 version, not so much, but I think there's a Wii game that is nicely collectible as well. Not always, but just sometimes they are worth nabbing. It's just just some names add to the collectability or something. I think Godzilla has a bit of that. Not that I'm positive the game's much cop. I've watched a few gameplay videos, and it doesn't look as good as something like War of the Monsters. It looks a bit, don't know, more of a one-on-one fighter. Don't know. Anyway, I'll always give it a go, and I'll come back with my opinion. Right, last 2. This was an eBay purchase. I buy it now. It was one of my top 3 PS2 games I'm still after. It appeared for a good price. It's not an expensive game, but it's one of the sorts of games that is relatively uncommon, to the point where people charge too much for it when it does come up, and you just have to bide your time for a accurately priced copy to turn up. And this was one of them. Although actually, I think auctions, they do often go for a bit more than I paid. CEX is about £3.50, but it's called Monster Attack. It's It's the precursor to Global Defence Force or Earth Defence Force. It's the very first Earth Defence Force game, not the shooter, the other series. Don't know why it's called Monster Attack. It's from one of the first Global Defence or Earth Defence Force game in the Simple 2000 series in Japan. I don't know why they changed the name, but for some reason they did. So this comes before Global Defence Force, and it's pretty much the same thing. You're being invaded by giant ants, and you're a little dude who runs around firing at them, and you can get in vehicles. But it's quite an uncommon game. And I bought this. It was £8 plus £2.30 postage, and it was a really good seller. Did need to change out the case, but the case wasn't bad by any means. But I had a nicer case, so got a nice game. And the two left on my list are Musashi Samurai Legend and Q-On. Below that, it's all games that are English versions are really expensive, like Rule of Rose or Michigan Report from Hell, things like that, or games that didn't get a UK release. I think Fire Pro Wrestling Returns, and those sorts of games. That's sort of standard. And this is the only sort of reasonably priced game, so that's why it was further up my list. But yeah, it's pretty much it's the very first game in the Global Defence Force series. Right, on to the final one. Bit of a drink. What a surprise! Over 40 minutes. I'm not quitting quite yet. Game I've mentioned, I've been saving up some CX credits, so that's a bit of a giveaway for this game. Might as well show you now. I've given it away, haven't I? It's Zelda Twilight Princess, came from CX. I swapped out the case because the actual case it came in wasn't that much cop. There you go. So built £48. For years that was £32. And just when I was, thinking I'm going to have that, then they put the bloody price up. So there you go. Swapped out. So this was my least desirable. See, that was the case there. But yeah, where did I go? I think I've had so many abortive attempts at buying this. There was one in Walthamstow that I was going to go and get, but it was bought before I could go down there. I was getting all ready to go down there the next day, and it was bought sort of that evening. So that was an abortive attempt. Another one appeared in Walthamstow again. I went down there and it had a sort of a mangled sleeve and didn't have a manual, so that was another abortive attempt. Third go, I went to apparently a copy appeared in a new branch of CX in Dalston called Dalston Hackney, and that's relatively close, but a bit of a ball ache to get to. You have to sort of go around and change 2 or 3 trains, so it's a bit of an arse to get to. Went all the way down there. Dalston's a nice place. I won't say market. It's nice and lively, actually. I quite like it, but there's just a row of all these permanent market stalls that just all they sell is pig parts, just trotters, like skin and face and ears and stuff, and pigs' heads. Lovely. But I really like the diversity of it. But I was a bit intimidated by the pig bits. But yeah. Went down there, and the copy they had a reproduction sleeve, so that was a write-off. But then it did give me an opportunity to trade in. What did I trade in? I traded in a couple of stuff to add to the because that was it. Final Fantasy Tactics. I used a bit of my credit. The credit was burning a hole in my pocket, so I needed to top up for this. So I traded in that copy of Lapusel Tactics and Pacific Rim. I watched it. It was okay. Too dumb for my liking. Too many rubbish quips. Rubbish quips in films put me right off. Rubbish quipping. If you've got a quip, make it a good quip. Rubbish quipping, is no good for anyone. So I might actually talk about. I'm going to do another film video because there's a couple of films that I want to talk about that I didn't like so much. I did enjoy it though. I did really liked the actual, the robot fighting, but that Charlie Hunnam guy, he can't act, has he? Kenny. He's just... Who keeps employing him? He's awful. But, yeah. It was a decent enough film, but it wasn't a film I was ever going to watch twice. So I thought I'd trade it in, and it was worth a bit of credit. And Lapis Tactics, something else, and topped it up and got this. So yeah. Condition wise, it's decent. Got a bit of a fold on the manual. It's got all its. It's got an unscratched Club Nintendo card thing, and I had to take precautions leaflet from one of my other games because I wanted this one like fully complete, as people say. But yeah, I brought it home and I'd had it for a couple of days, and I was just sort of looking at it because I do like to sort of look and admire my games, sort of looking over and go, ah. And then it just, this is what I was mentioning earlier. You see, there's a bit of a tide mark there, which I hadn't spotted. See, it's pretty faint. And when I eventually spotted it, that's the thing, really. I didn't spot it straight away. It's obviously not that bad. But when I did spot it, it was like a bit of a letdown. I went, oh. And I immediately started thinking, how can I get another sleeve? How can I get another sleeve? But then I thought to myself, a bit of a, inner monologue. I thought to myself, you sound mental. What about that is unacceptable? And why does it have to be pristine? There's, a sort of a trendy thing to say, oh, I've got a bit of OCD. It's like, because all you have to say is, oh, I've got a bit of OCD. And I've said it, because you don't have to explain it after that, why. You just say, oh, I've got a bit of OCD. You don't have to explain to yourself or anyone else why exactly that is a problem, that tide mark. That's a problem to me. But I have to grow up and accept it, because I'm not paying another 48 quid just to change that bit of to get rid of that tide mark there. So what is it? I mean, there are plenty of people out there who, like me, like their stuff to be in really nice nick, without any sort of obvious defects. Do you have that same thought process where you think to myself, Jesus, you sound mental. Listen to yourself picking faults. Yeah, I really have to ask myself. I don't really understand what it is that makes that a fault. Because there are people out there relaxed about the condition of their stuff. I think there are some people who like going, no, it's not good enough. I'm one of them, probably, actually. Or I'm trying to grow up. But there are other people who just like brush that off. Go, what's the problem? Nothing wrong with that. But what I'm trying to work out, what in my head means, what tells me that means that that's a problem. I don't know. Why is that a problem? I mean, does anybody else have that sort of thought process that to try and understand why those sort of slight defects, why everything has to be perfect? Without explaining away, oh, I've got a bit of OCD, and why does that OCD mean that you have to do that? Not that I think everybody says they've got it, but it's a bit of a cool, trendy thing to say, thing to have, isn't it? Because it's easy to explain certain things in your head that your head's telling you one thing, but that's the easiest way to explain it. But nearly 50 minutes. At least there's some pretty fuller content, which is obviously mostly me going sort of yammering away. But I hope people stuck with it to the end. One day, my last ever video will be, oh yeah, I'm going to say, oh yeah, hopefully this will be a short one, and it will be a short one, and that'll be my last ever video. So yeah, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later for 49 minutes. Let it tick down. See you later.